Asta's transformation in the Black Clover manga has pushed his strength to a whole new tier, in which just moments before he was put on his ass with one punch, he is now able to compete with the likes of Lucifero, who swiftly put hands on all the captains at the same time. Now, while reading Black Clover and seeing Asta's growth throughout the series, I often ask myself this question: how far does anti-magic go? And the answer to that is, we don't know. And although that was a joke, Asta is still going to grow as the series goes on. But as of now, his limits are unknown. However, we can still look back on what he's done and kind of scope out his potential. The anime ends off with Asta finally completing the devil binding ritual. Well, actually the devil befriending ritual, in which we get back to the story of Libe and find out Asta's mother actually raised him when he was cast out from the underworld, which I thought was a cool way to establish Asta and Libe's relationships as more of brothers than master and servant, as this plays an important role in Asta's most recent transformation. Notch then shows Asta his own devil Yun transformation and says, "From this point on, your training will begin in earnest." As we see Asta transform, a tiny version of Libe appears as a result of the transformation. And I believe this tiny transformation also relates to Yuno's fairy and Notch's 5 smaller devil unions. Notch uses his devil shadow magic ability called Pack, and Asta informs us that those beasts he has the same key as the vice captain. More important information is given to us by Notch, stating that since now Asta's devil isn't his servant, it will be much harder to bring out 100% of his power. But to be honest, I actually think doing this method justifies his slower progression into a true devil union form. Notch then uses a mana zone on Asta, blinding his vision, forcing him to transform and attack Notch. Asta intentionally avoids hitting Notch directly, but is able to erase that magic on his arm as well as his entire mana zone. Notch, with sweat dripping down his face, says that if Asta is able to use anti-magic at full power, then he will be the strongest. However, at this point, Asta can only use his devil union transformation for a moment, so Notch forces him to keep training as the other captains begin the attack. At this point, the Magic Knights ready themselves to begin the mission, and they all declare they will finish it before Asta even arrives. Since the capture of Vengeance and Yami, captains begin preparing themselves to attack the Dark Triad, in which we get individual highlights of training advances that they've made in the meantime. For Charlotte, we get more confirmation that the individuals who were controlled by elves during their invasion actually boosted in mana and strength, thus allowing her to evolve her red and blue rose ability. However, in terms of feats, until the gate to the underworld was opened, she was actually able to push Vanica to be scared to lose the fight. It could also be made out to be a troll because of how her character is, however, I still believe she needed to transform in order to break out of Charlotte's ability. Jack the Ripper engages Dante in battle and is actually overwhelmed by his presence of the Devil King ability, which is the exact same ability that Lucifero used to hold down all the captains. However, Jack is able to push past his own limits and sprout blades all over his body, actually slicing the gravity around him. He then pushes for the final blow as Dante evolves and pushes the fight in his favor. Meloriona realizes from the events of the last arc that there are still things her magic wouldn't work on. However, this only excites her as she realizes she is still able to get stronger. She then says that she will burn away everything as she begins to engulf herself in flames, calling this mode her Hellfire Incarnate. As Yuno's dad notes, it's as if her body has become mana itself. Then using her mana zone attack, she is able to defeat an ancient demon and engulf its body in flames as well. Now for the main course of what you've been waiting for. Why Asta is stronger? And my answer to that is, look at what he's done. Yep, just look at what he's done. Right after completing his solo training, an ancient demon has been resurrected to attack the Clover Kingdom, in which the Wizard King states he is no match for it in his current form. With help from all of the available knights left, he attempts to stop the threat only to be saved by Asta in the end, which is a great moment for Asta in the series as everyone is able to acknowledge the results of his training. With help from his squad, Asta is able to reach the battle and save Notch from near death and easily handle 2 of the Supreme Demons Notch fought against. Even after fusing and increasing in power, Asta still is too much for them, as he is able to instill fear for them for the first time in their existence. Even after defeating an ancient demon and then 2 Supreme Demons, he is still able to fly to Noel's rescue and save Queen Lolopechka from dying. But we're not done. While Lucifero begins to manifest, armed with Yami's sword, he is able to slash his manifestation in half, saving Yami and Vengeance and unlocking the ability to only be able to cut what he desires. And finally, the main chunk of evidence. Lucifero completely dogs all the captains, beating them down with physical attacks alone, all while taunting them about how weak they are. With combined attacks from Yami and Notch, they are only able to scratch the demon as he finally acknowledges acknowledges it. And as a reward for that acknowledgement, he declares that he will annihilate all of humanity. He then continues to brutally beat down our protagonist more until a final transformation from Asta is achieved, and he's able to give Lucifero the most damaging blows since his arrival. Now I ask you, what the fuck are they gonna do? And by that I mean, if all the captain's strength were needed to stop the Dark Triad, who are magic users made useless by Lucifero, what are they actually gonna do to this version of Asta? The same Lucifero who beat all of them to a pulp just got chopped down like a medium rare steak. Even crazier, imagine this. Imagine if Asta actually pulled up to the Clover King. What could they do? What could they do? Literally, without him, they would all have died. He would pull up, turn off all their magic, and get to chopping. And yeah, you could say maybe the Wizard King, but the Wizard King was fighting Licht, and it was a cool fight. And it was to protect the entire Clover Kingdom that he was forced to even use this form. That was the only reason why he got weakened to begin with. He was forced into that because of because of the size of Licht's attack. These were the demons that were controlling the elves to begin with. And this one is an ancient one. His attack should be stronger. And then Asta shuts it down and whittles him up like cheese. What is the Wizard King gonna do?